Good evening, everyone. I'm your storyteller tonight, and I'm here to help you fall asleep with a few unsettling stories to keep you company in the dark. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It really keeps the stories coming. I'd love to know where you're watching from and what time it is there. Drop it in the comments below. Now, if you're ready, lie back, get comfortable, and close your eyes. Let's begin. Story 1. This happened back in 2019 when I was working the night shift at a McDonald's in East London. I was a university student trying to make ends meet, and night shifts paid a little extra. So I volunteered whenever they were short-staffed. The area wasn't the best. Lots of petty crime, drunk people, and some sketchy types who hung around outside. But I figured as long as I stayed inside, I'd be fine. That night started off like any other. Quiet, cold, and painfully slow. Just me and a guy named Curtis on overnight. He stayed mostly in the kitchen, and I was running the register, sweeping, doing drive-through, and cleaning the lobby. Around 1 a.m., some drunk students came in, grabbed food, and left. Then, nothing. Just the fryer's buzz and my thoughts. Around 2:30 a.m., a man walked in. He was tall, maybe in his 40s, with a long gray coat that looked ragged. His beard was patchy, and his hands stayed buried in his pockets. Something felt off immediately. I greeted him and asked if he wanted to order. He didn't answer, just slowly walked toward the counter, sizing me up. Then he leaned forward, stared into my eyes, and asked, "What time does the clown come out?" I gave a nervous laugh and said, "He's off tonight," trying to joke. He didn't laugh, didn't blink. Curtis came up from the back and asked what was going on. The man looked at him, then back at me, and muttered, "He's not back there," before walking to the far end of the lobby and sitting near the dark, unused playplace. Curtis whispered, "Do you know him?" I shook my head. The man sat still for 20 minutes, staring into the playplace. Then, without a word, he got up and walked out. We locked the door behind him, but he didn't leave. He stood right outside, staring through the window at the play area. We took turns watching him, trying to finish the shift. Around 3:40 a.m., Curtis went to the back to take out trash. A minute later, I heard a knock on the drive-through window. I thought it was another drunk customer. It was the man in the coat. This time, he was smiling wide, teeth bared, and holding something up. A child's shoe. I froze. Curtis came back as I yelled. We both stared as the man backed away slowly, still grinning, and vanished into the night. We called the police. They took a report, but nothing technically illegal had happened. We checked the play place. Nothing. No forced entry, just dust and empty plastic tunnels. The shoe wasn't from our lost and found. It was small, red, and worn like it had been through hell. It didn't belong to anyone. I worked 2 more shifts after that. but I jumped every time someone walked in. Every knock made my heart pound. A few weeks later, I quit, told myself it was just some psycho trying to mess with us. But I still think about that shoe. About how he said, "He's not back there." The way he stared into the dark playplace, like he was waiting or remembering. I haven't set foot in a McDonald's since. Story 2. This happened in 2021, when I was living in Warsaw, Poland. I had just moved there for school, didn't speak much Polish, and the only job I could get quickly was working the graveyard shift at a fast food chain called King Burger. It was basically a knockoff Burger King. Most nights were boring, cleaning, stocking, pretending to look busy. The restaurant was on the edge of the city, near a crumbling strip mall. After 11 p.m., the streets went quiet, and the only customers were drunk, homeless, or spaced-out people who stared through you. That night, it was just me and Tomek, a guy who barely spoke English. Around 12:45 a.m., I went out to take trash to the back dumpster. The alley was pitch dark. No lights, just a long corridor between buildings. I always hated it. It felt like someone could be hiding there, watching. I was out maybe 30 seconds when I heard a voice behind me, low and hoarse. "You work inside?" I turned fast and saw a tall man by the corner. Pale, layered clothes, hood up. Couldn't see his face. Yeah, sorry, we're closed. Drive-through only," I said. "I don't want food," he replied. "I used to work here." I laughed, trying to keep things light. "Cool, man. Small world." He stepped closer. They locked me in the walk-in freezer, said it was an accident. My smile faded. "That's messed up," I said, backing toward the door. He didn't move, but kept talking. I was in there for hours. I heard them laughing. Then they forgot about me. My fingers turned black. I thought I died. I fumbled for my keys, heart pounding. Got inside and locked the door. Tried explaining it to Tomek, but he just shrugged and muttered something I couldn't understand. Around 2 a.m., the power flickered. Not unusual for that old building. But this time, the lights stayed off for nearly a minute. Then, emergency lights kicked in. Dim red, made the place look like a horror movie. I checked the circuit panel while Tomek walked toward the front. Then, I heard it. A deep bang from the back. The walk-in freezer. Another bang. Echoing. I figured it was a loose box or maybe the fan. I stood in front of the freezer, listening. Silence. Then, another bang. Louder. Like someone punching from inside. I froze, hand hovering at the handle. I don't know why I opened it. Curiosity, I guess. The door creaked open. Light flickered on. Nothing inside but frost, frozen meat, and a sickly sweet metallic smell. Then, the door slammed shut behind me. I screamed and yanked the release. Tomek was already pulling from the outside, eyes wide. I stumbled out, gasping. "I see someone," he said. "Behind you. Not you." We called the manager. She brushed it off, said no employee had ever been hurt in the freezer. No records, no complaints. I quit that week. Couldn't stand walking past that door. Even when it was open, it looked too dark, like it went deeper than it should. Months later, I looked up Kingbird, Warsaw. Closed. Permanently. No explanation. But one Google review was still there. Short. Just 6 words burned into my brain. They never let me out. Story 3. Back in 2019, I was working in Toronto, Canada, at a 24-hour fast food place called Snack House. It wasn't a big chain, just a local joint mimicking American diner-style burgers and shakes. I was the night shift janitor, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It paid fine, and I liked the solitude. The building sat beside a car rental lot that emptied out after hours, leaving the street eerily still. Just the hum of soda machines and the occasional flickering fryer light. My routine was set. Mop by 11, kitchen by 1, restock by 3, windows before dawn. It was dull, but safe. Then one night, I found a notebook under one of the booths. Thin, black, no logo. Thought maybe someone forgot their sketchbook or journal. I opened it, casually flipping through the pages, until I saw what was written inside. It wasn't a journal. Each page had the same sentence in shaky all caps. Do not clean table 6 after 3 a.m. Over and over, like someone was trying to convince themselves it mattered. I figured it was a prank. Check table 6, crumbs and soda, nothing weird. I wiped it down like usual, but around 3:15 a.m., I heard a sound. Chairs dragging faintly on tile. I assumed it was wind, except all the doors were locked. I turned the corner and saw one chair slightly pulled out from table 6. I waited, half expecting a coworker to pop out and yell. No one. I pushed it back in and went on with my work. 20 minutes later, it happened again. This time, louder, rougher, like someone angry. The same chair pulled out again, now twisted. I checked the old security feed. No one touched it. It moved on its own. That sick feeling settled in. I avoided the dining room for the rest of my shift. The next day, I brought it up with the morning manager. He gave me this look and said, "You're the new janitor, right?" I nodded. He leaned in, quieter. They don't tell the whole story. Table 6's where some regular died. Heart attack. 3:04 a.m. Just collapsed. Alone. I laughed nervously. "You're saying it's haunted?" He didn't laugh. 4 janitors quit last year. Every one of them cleaned that booth after 3 a.m. Then, stuff started happening. He didn't clarify. I didn't push it. That next shift, I didn't go near table 6. Gave it space. That worked for 2 nights. Then the 3rd night, I walked in right at 10 p.m. and the chair was already pulled out. I hadn't touched it. No one had. And something was sitting on the table. It was another notebook. Same black cover. Same handwriting inside. But this one had different words. You cleaned it. Now you sit. That was enough. I left my keys on the counter and walked out without finishing my shift. Didn't even close up. I just left. A week later, I drove past the restaurant out of dumb curiosity. Just a building. Just a job. I told myself that. But from the street, I could still see into the dining area. Past the flickering fryer lights. Beyond the empty booths. Table 6. Chair still pulled out. Story 4. I used to work the graveyard shift at a McDonald's in downtown Chicago, right near the river. Some nights were dead quiet. Others were chaos. Drunk college kids, homeless folks, weirdos lurking around. I worked front counter and sometimes drive-through if we were short. This happened in early 2021, on one of those brutal winter nights that made the whole city feel abandoned. I clocked in at 10 p.m. like usual, brewed coffee, and kept my head down. Around 11:30 p.m., this guy walked in wearing an oversized down coat and a ski mask pulled just high enough to show his eyes. He didn't say anything at first, just loitered by the soda fountain, hands jammed deep in his pockets. I greeted him. Nothing. Eventually, he walked up, ordered a cheeseburger, paid entirely in coins, then sat in the farthest booth. Didn't touch the food, didn't move. He just sat there for hours. Through the fry station glass, I kept an eye on him. At some point, I stopped seeing him blink or chew, just stillness, like he was waiting. Around 2 a.m., my coworker Jamal asked, "Yo, did that guy ever leave?" I looked over. Booth was empty. The burger still sat there, untouched. None of us saw him leave. No ding from the door, no motion, nothing. We pulled up the security footage from the back. When we got to the timestamp where he arrived, it glitched. Total screen distortion, colors tearing, static. Every time we tried to view that booth, after 11:30, the footage broke. I told myself the system was old and buggy, but it felt off. At 3:45 a.m., I was restocking straws and noticed something on the booth seat. The vinyl was torn wide open. A deep gash, like it had been ripped from the inside. Something was stuffed inside. I tugged it gently. Black nylon. A coat. I bent down and looked under the seat. The coat was buried into the foam, like something had pulled it down and inward. Arms twisted and jammed into the stuffing. No body. Just the coat and this awful smell, like rot and burnt plastic. I called Jamal over. He took one look and said, "That's the same coat my cousin lost last year. He got jumped right out front. Same booth, same night." I asked what happened. They said robbery gone wrong, but they never found him. Just his cracked phone and the coat. I reached out to touch the nylon again. It twitched. Something deep inside the cushion shifted. I yanked my hand back. Jamal and I sprinted to the office, called the manager. He thought we were messing around and told us to finish the shift. Jamal clocked out early. I stayed. Don't ask me why. Maybe I was hoping it was nothing. Maybe I was already in too deep. At 4:17 a.m., I finally walked back out front. The coat was gone. So was the burger. On the tray sat something new, a receipt. No store name, no timestamp, just one line printed in the center. Thank you for sitting. That was it. I transferred stores the next week. Never looked back. But sometimes, late at night, I'll dream of that corner booth. I'll be working behind the counter like I used to, and I'll look up and see someone sitting there. Never moving, never speaking, just watching. Always from the same booth, always in silence, always waiting for someone else to sit down. Story 5. Back in 2019, I worked as a night shift janitor at a fast food place called Burger Den outside Berlin. It was near a gas station and an old nightclub, so we got all kinds. Truckers, drunk partiers, and the occasional creep waiting for sunrise. I started at 11 p.m. and worked till 6 a.m. Most of the staff left by midnight, except Anna, the overnight manager. She stayed in the office, doing inventory, and we rarely talked. One October night, Anna warned me about a guy who had been coming in. Said he never ordered, just sat in the corner booth, facing the security camera. She said he stared too much. I asked if she banned him. She shrugged. People get weird at night. As long as he doesn't cause trouble, we can't do much. I didn't think much of it. That night, I got to work like usual. Around 1:15 a.m., I was cleaning the men's bathroom. There was something dark and sticky under the sink. Probably old soda. I started mopping when I heard the door creak open behind me. I turned. No one. Probably wind, I thought. Then the air freshener sprayed twice in a row. That never happened. It sprayed again 2 minutes later. I felt weird, but went back to the main floor. That's when I saw him. Corner booth, gray hoodie, staring straight at the security camera above the register. I hadn't seen him walk in. I asked Anna when he arrived. She looked confused. Who? I pointed, right there. She followed me out, and the booth was empty. From her angle, no one was there. But from where I stood, I still saw him, hood up, unmoving, staring. She asked if I was okay. I lied and said I was just tired. I went back to work, not daring to look back. Hours later, I went out back to take out the trash. The dumpsters were beside a graffitied alley. While hauling the last bag out, I heard footsteps behind me, slow and soft on the gravel. I turned, expecting Anna. No one. Then the bag in my hand felt heavier, like someone pressed their hand on it. I dropped it. Something shifted inside. A thud. Then another. I stood frozen. Finally, I opened the dumpster and tossed the bag in like it was nothing, telling myself it was spoiled meat or busted equipment. But deep down, I knew something in there had moved, and not from gravity. When I got back inside, Anna was shutting down. It was 5:20 a.m. She looked at me and said, "You sure you're all right?" I told her everything. The hoodie guy, the bathroom, the trash bag. She went pale. Then she said something that chilled me worse than the night air. There was another janitor before you. Same job, same hours. He vanished 2 months ago. No leads. Last thing he did was take out the trash. I forced a laugh, but it didn't stick. I asked if we had cameras out back. She said no, budget cuts. On my way out, I glanced at the corner booth one last time. He was there again. This time, not watching the camera. He was staring at me. His face was still hidden in shadow, but I felt the weight of his eyes. I quit the next day. Didn't give notice. I burned my uniform in a metal bucket behind my building. Since then, I've never taken out a trash bag alone, and I never, ever mop bathrooms after 1 a.m.